Part 23. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 221. Eve. When Li Feixuan heard this, her beautiful face turned red, and she shyly hid behind Su Yang, wishing she could find a crack in the ground to crawl in. At the same time, she tugged on Su Yang's clothes and signaled Su Yang to deal with it quickly. Ahem. Su Yang reacted and took the small cube away from Fu Ma's hand, and then said with a smile, "Fu Ma, don't hold this thing, give it to me." "What's wrong, young master?" Mom asked curiously. "Can I eat it?" "How do you say this?" Su Yang smiled and said, "You can eat it, you can't eat it. Some people like to eat it, and some people don't like it. In short, it's more complicated." "Is the definition so vague?" "Master, what exactly is in this small square?" Fu's mother became even more curious. Su Yang touched the bridge of his nose and didn't know how to answer for a while. I know. At this moment, Su Yu next to you raised her little hand and smiled innocently. After Li Feixuan heard this, she immediately became nervous and twisted a small piece of Su Yang's flesh hard, as if she was complaining about Su Yang. Su Yang held back the pain in his body, looked at Su Yu, and asked cautiously, "Yu, you saw it wrong. The thing in the small square is not what you thought." "Dad, stop pretending, I use this often, don't I just wear it?" Just as Su Yu was talking, Su Yang's face instantly darkened, with murderous intent in his eyes. "Aren't they just disposable gloves on my hands? I wear them when I eat pizza." Su Yu curled her lips and said with a smile, "Dad, you can't lie to me. The packaging of disposable gloves is this small square shape. Tell me honestly, are you and Teacher Li cheating?" After hearing the second half of the words, the murderous intent in Su Yang's eyes disappeared instantly. It turned out that he was overthinking. "Yu, yes, you are right, Su Yang and I are just stealing food at this moment." Li Feixuan found the steps and hurriedly smiled. "Eat on the sly." The lady next to her looked at Su Yang and Li Feixuan with disdain, and said seriously, "Young master, Miss Li, just eat on the sly. Pay attention to the impact, don't be so arrogant, and find a place where no one is around next time." Li Feixuan also realized that there was something wrong with the word stealing, and she felt ashamed at this time. "Mom Fu, if you don't speak, no one will think you are mute." Su Yang said with a dark face, "If you talk too much, I will let you go back to the Li family manor and stop staying here." "Young master, what are you talking about?" "It's broken. There is something wrong with my ears. They work sometimes and sometimes not. I'm going to the hospital tomorrow to find a specialist to take a look." Fu Ma pretended not to hear what Su Yang said, muttering softly, and walked into her room. "This Fu Ma." Su Yang showed a wry smile and was very speechless, but it was hard to drive away Fu Ma. After all, she had taken care of him for so many years and she was an old man in the family. "Dad, Teacher Li, you are so bad, you didn't even call me to eat pizza." At this time, Su Yu hugged her arms and said angrily, I don't want to care about you. Long. Li Feixuan walked over, feeling less ashamed and smiled softly, "Teacher Li promises you that I will take you to eat pizza tomorrow. Don't be angry." "Really?" Su Yu said in surprise, "is it a puppy?" Li Feixuan smiled and rubbed Li Feixuan's head, and then said, "But, Yu, it's getting late today. It's time for you to go to bed. Can Teacher Li take you to take a bath?" Just like that, Li Feixuan ignored Su Yang, held Su Yu's little hand, and walked into the bathroom. Not long after, Su Yu finished washing, and Li Feixuan carried her into the room on the third floor. Su Yang followed and saw Su Yu lying on the bed. He couldn't help but smile and said, "Yu, Daddy, let me tell you a story." "No, Dad, get out," Su Yu's face showed a trace of fear, and she tried her best to reject it. What's wrong? Su Yang asked in surprise. Dad, the stories you told are too ugly. I don't like the beatings and killings. Su Yu told the truth. Haha, this time Dad will tell you a love story in the Xiantian immortal realm. I guarantee it will be fun to listen to. I don't want it, I want to listen to Teacher Li telling stories. Su Yu started to pick people. Su Yang touched the bridge of his nose and said with a wry smile, you girl, you actually dislike me. Su Yang, since Yu wants to hear my story, you go out first and I'll coax her to sleep. Li Fixuan smiled softly, looking at Su Yu with eyes full of doting. All right. The two girls were chasing him, so Su Yang had no choice but to leave first and come to the living room. About 10 minutes later, Li Fixuan walked downstairs quietly. Honey, are you asleep? Su Yang stood up and walked towards Li Fixuan. Well, Yo-Yo is so cute. She looks so beautiful when she sleeps. I wish I could keep her by my side. Li Fixuan was a little depressed and said sadly, unfortunately, 2 or 3 days have passed. Counting the time, her mother will pick her up in a few days. Wife. Seeing Li Fixuan's expression, Su Yang held her hands and said seriously, actually, there is one thing I didn't tell you, but I didn't mean to hide it from you. I only found out about it these 2 days. About Yo-Yo. What's the matter? Li Fixuan asked curiously. Su Yang looked at Li Fixuan and confessed, Yo-Yo, she is my daughter, my biological daughter. Real. When Li Fixuan heard the news, instead of being angry, she was very happy. Su Yang, does that mean that Yo-Yo can stay with us forever? That's how it should be. Su Yang nodded and said, I am her father. As long as she wants to stay, no one can take her away. Very good. Li Fixuan smiled happily and said, this way I can stay with Yo-Yo all the time. I want to teach her classical dance and train her from an early age. Wife. Seeing this, Su Yang couldn't help but ask, you are my fiancé, we are not married yet, and suddenly I have an illegitimate daughter. Shouldn't you be sad? Why should I be sad? Concubine Li Xian gave Su Yang a stunned look, then smiled and said, I said before, I don't care if you have many women, only excellent men will attract bees and butterflies, no matter who you have children with, you have to call me mom, you picked up a daughter for nothing, it's too late for me to be happy. Besides, Yo-Yo is so cute and beautiful. I feel happy every day when I see her. Being able to keep her by my side is simply a gift from God. Why should I be sad? Concubine Li said with a smile. Wife, you are such a good woman. Being able to marry you is a blessing that I have cultivated for 8 lifetimes. Su Yang hugged Li Fixuan tightly. This is not true at all. After Li Fixuan found out Su Yu's identity, her first reaction was to be happy, which was so rare. Bah, stop fooling me with your sweet words. Li Fixuan struggled to push Su Yang away, and then said, tell me the truth, who is Yu's mother? Do I know her? Well, you know her, and she's very familiar with her. Su Yang smiled bitterly and said, it's Zhang Shuer. Zhang Shuer. When Li Fixuan heard the name, she immediately fell into memories. After pausing for a few seconds, she said, the heroine really got it right. Su Yang wondered, what did my sister say? Have you forgotten how your sister explained what happened back then in order to protect you? Concubine Li glanced at Su Yang, curled her lips and said, you may forget, but I won't. She said that giving birth was too hard, and you felt sorry for me and didn't want me to suffer, so you became my best friend, but her words came true. Zhang Shuer really gave birth to a well-behaved and smart daughter for you. Although Li Fixuan accepted Su Yu and didn't care that Su Yang had multiple daughters, she still felt a little jealous when she talked about it. Honey, my sister was just joking. No one expected that things would turn out like this. Su Yang stepped forward and comforted, No matter what, I care about you the most. Li Feixuan met Su Yang's gaze, nodded, and then said seriously, Su Yang, the heroine is right about one thing. Giving birth is extremely hard. People who have never experienced the pain of childbirth will never understand it. Zhang Shuai didn't abort the child. She gave you such a good daughter as Yu. She paid a lot, you must not let her down, do you hear me? Li Feixuan continued, if you want to let her down, it means you are a heartless and unjust man. Such a man is not worthy of being my husband. I will never pay attention to you again. Wife. Su Yang never expected that Li Feixuan would say these words, which was quite touching. I will shoulder the responsibility of a man, whether it is Zhang Shuai or you, I will never let him down. That's pretty much it? Li Feixuan nodded with satisfaction, then turned and folded her arms and said, I can't care about other things, but I want to be the head palace. From now on, the family will not need to hire a nanny. I will do all the laundry, cooking, mopping the floor, and washing the dishes. Do it for your little wife, and I can enjoy it. Haha, wife, didn't you say before that if you want to stabilize your position as the master of the harem, you need to have a prince first? Su Yang walked over, hugged Li Feixuan, and kissed Li Feixuan's cheek gently. Don't want. Forget it for today, wait until next time. Fu Ma and Yu are both in the villa. Li Feixuan pushed Su Yang away, her face flushed slightly, and she gritted her teeth and said, it's getting late, Su Yang, please take me home. Oh well. Su Yang didn't force it. Anyway, there would be many opportunities in the future. Immediately afterwards, he walked out of the living room with Li Feixuan and drove straight to the Li family manor. Fei Xian. In the corner, Madame Fu watched Su Yang and Li Feixuan go away through the window. Her expression was extremely complex. She silently recited Li Feixuan's name, tears glistening in her eyes. Su Yang drove concubine Li to the Li family manor soon. On the way, Su Yang originally planned to experience the artistic conception of stop and sit and love Fenglin Wan, but Li Feixuan did not agree. After saying goodbye to his wife, Su Yang drove the car directly back to the riverside villa. Tonight, he gained a lot. Not only did he get a 5,000-year-old snow lotus, he also unexpectedly got 100 energy stones, which he must make good use of. Therefore, Su Yang came to his room and took out the snow lotus, intending to remove the toxins in the snow lotus first. This toxin has been fused with the snow lotus, so it really takes a lot of effort. However, it will definitely be done tonight. I will buy some auxiliary medicinal materials tomorrow and then I can refine the snow lotus pill. A playful smile appeared on Su Yang's lips. After eating snow lotus pill, I will definitely be able to step into the 7th level of Qi training. With this thought in his mind, Su Yang calmed down, threw the snow lotus into the air, and at the same time changed the kneading techniques with his hands. The next day, Su Yang cleaned out the toxins in the snow lotus early and got up to prepare breakfast for Su Yu. In the kitchen refrigerator, Fu Ma added a lot of ingredients. Su Yang first made porridge, then selected 2 cucumbers, beat them into juice, kneaded the dough to make cucumber pancakes, fried a shredded potato, and finally fried a few poached eggs, and the simple breakfast was completed. Immediately afterwards, Su Yang woke up Su Yu, took care of her daughter, dressed and washed, and then came to the dining table. Wow, Dad, did you do all this? Su Yu asked in surprise, her big eyes flickering. Su Yang nodded gently, rubbed Su Yu's head lovingly, and said with a smile, eat, eat more. Only when you are full can you have the strength to study. Ah, are you going to school again? When Su Yu heard that she was going to school, her little face suddenly drooped and she whispered, Dad, can you not go to school? No, Su Yang refused. Originally, he didn't know that Su Yu was his daughter, and thought that she would only stay with him for a few days, so it didn't matter whether she went to school or not. But things are different now. Su Yang doesn't intend to let Yu Yu leave him. He must go to school regularly and cannot be absent. Young master. At this time, Fu Ma came over with a hunched body. When she saw the food on the table, she was surprised and said, "It smells so good. It turns out you can cook." "Do whatever you want," Su Yang responded. "It's really good. Can I eat it?" Fu Ma's eyes showed a look of hope. Of course Su Yang smiled and said, "I cook more, enough to eat." "That's great, thank you, young master." Fu Ma's eyes fell on Su Yang, her eyes were very complicated, and then she smiled and said, "I have known you for so many years, this is the first time I have eaten your cooking, I am so touched." "Mom Fu, why are you so disgusting?" Su Yang met Fu's mother's gaze and got goosebumps all over his body, and then urged, "Eat quickly. After eating, take Yu Yu to the door to wait for the school bus." "Waiting for the school bus? Why are you waiting for the school bus? Today is Saturday and you don't have to go to school," Fu's mother said. "Yes, it's Saturday today, yeah, I don't have to go to school. I'm so happy, la la la." Su Yu reacted instantly, bouncing on the spot happily, her two braids swinging back and forth, looking very cute. Su Yang smiled and didn't know what to say. Yesterday, Su Yu went crazy playing in the Li family manor, so after eating, she insisted on going to the manor to play. However, Su Yang also wanted to buy auxiliary medicinal materials for refining snow lotus pill, so he asked Fu Ma to take Yu Yu there. "Goodbye Dad." After seeing off Fu Ma and Yu Yu, Su Yang drove away from the riverside villa without stopping for a moment. At the same time, at the Dong family manor, Dong Wenzheng dialed the number of the great elder Su Shanju. P.S. The two chapters are combined together and will not be separated. There will be another chapter later. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 222. Great Elder, I have returned to Jiangbei safely. Thank you to the Great Elder for your secret help. After the call was connected, Dong Wenzheng first thanked him and then said, "After I returned to Jiangbei, I went to the Jimen black market and I have some good news to tell you." "What's the good news?" Su Shanju's curious voice came from the other side of the phone. "I asked about Jimen black market, and their person in charge said that they are willing to purchase energy stones in large quantities." Dong Wenzheng followed the idea given by Su Yang and continued, "Great Elder, didn't you discover an energy stone mine? It can be mined and sold to the Jimen black market." "Oh, is there such a thing?" Hearing this, Su Shanju immediately became interested. Although he is an ancient warrior, there are still many places where money can be used. Whether it's medicinal materials, weapons, secret books, or ancient talismans, you can buy them all with money. For example, 5,000-year-old snow lotus is sold on the Jimen black market, but it is worth a lot of money, starting with several billion. For ancient warriors, money is not everything, but without money, it is difficult to move forward. Su Shanju discovered an energy stone mine, but he didn't think he could find a market for it, so he didn't take it seriously at all. But now, after learning that Jimen black market was about to acquire it, Su Shanju became interested. If you could sell all those energy stones to the Jimen black market, wouldn't you make a fortune? Thinking of this, Su Shanju hurriedly asked, "Master Dong, do you understand clearly? I can take out a lot of energy stones. How many of them are Jimen black market planning to acquire?" "Reporting to the Great Elder, I've taken care of everything for you. Jimen black market has said that they will take whatever you have," Dong Wenzheng responded quickly. "Haha, great." Su Shanju was overjoyed and said excitedly, "The energy stone mine I discovered is not very big. After a rough look, I can probably dig out 1,000 energy stones. By the way, Master Dong, did they say how much it cost to buy one?" Said. Dong Wenzheng said respectfully, the person in charge told me that the price will not be too low, about 3 to 5 million, depending on the quality of the energy stone. However, Great Elder, I have shown the energy stone you gave me to the person in charge of the Jimin black market. They said that the quality is good and I can give you 5 million for one. Dong Wenzheng added. 5 million. 1,000 pills, that's 5 billion. Su Shanju's eyes lit up and he breathed a little quickly. He was obviously attracted by the money. But then, he calmed down and asked doubtfully, Master Dong, why did you suddenly think of going to the Jimin black market to find out whether the other party purchased energy stones? This. Dong Wenchenz's heart tightened, then he smiled and said, Haha, Great Elder, to be honest, you gave me 100 energy stones, which is too much. I can't use them all, so I thought of taking action. But in Jiangbei, the only place that can purchase so many energy stones at once is the Jimin black market, so I went to the Jimin black market and asked. In order to increase his credibility, Dong Wenzheng continued, I didn't expect that they were preparing to acquire energy stones. I have sold 80 of them and kept 20 to pass on to future generations of the Dong family. However, you also know that Jiangbei Jimin black market is just a small branch of the Jimin alliance. 80 energy stones cannot satisfy their appetite at all, so I mentioned you to them. I see. Su Shanju nodded with sudden realization, and then smiled and said, Master Dong, you think of me in everything, you are serious. Great Elder, you are so polite. You are so generous and gave me 100 energy stones. This is what I should do. Dong Wenzheng smiled and said, by the way, Great Elder, the people from Jimin black market are in a hurry. You mine the energy stones as soon as possible, and then come to Jiangbei to sell them. Contact me then and I will introduce you to the person in charge of the Jimin black market. Good. Su Shanju nodded, and then said, I will leave for Jiangnan right now, mine all the energy stones in that mine, and then get a truck to drive to Jiangbei. I will arrive tonight at the latest. Great Elder, there is actually no need to be in such a hurry. Haha, soldiers are very fast. I want to sell the energy stones as soon as possible and exchange them for money. Otherwise, if it takes too long and Jimin black market regrets not accepting it, then who will I sell it to? Su Shanju stroked his beard and said with a smile. The Great Elder is wise. Dong Wenzheng said flatteringly. Master Dong, thanks to you this time, I will give you a big reward when everything is done. Su Shanju said gratefully, sincerely feeling that Dong Wenzheng was good to him. Then I'd like to thank you, Great Elder. Dong Wenzheng smiled and then said, Great Elder, it's settled. I'll tell the person in charge of Jimin black market now and let them prepare to meet you tonight. Okay, I'm sorry to bother you. You should also prepare the 5,000-year-old snow lotus. I will take the snow lotus away tonight. Yes. Then, the call was hung up. Dong Wenzheng did not hesitate and immediately sent a text message to Su Yang, informing Su Yang that the elder would come to Jiangbei tonight with the energy stone. As for Su Shanju, after talking to Dong Wenzheng on the phone, he didn't stop for a second and left Wuying sect with a hoe. Xiun Mountain is not far from Jiangnan. About a few dozen minutes later, Su Shanju drove a truck and appeared outside a large mountain in Jiangnan. Immediately afterwards, he was carrying a hoe, his figure flashing, and he quickly arrived near the energy stone mine. 5 million for one energy stone, haha, I'm making a fortune. Su Shanju was extremely excited. He kept waving his hoe, sweating profusely, and worked hard to mine the energy stones. This energy stone mine is not as simple as it seems. Su Shanju got a treasure here. Therefore, he did not want other people in the Shadowla sect to know, so as not to arouse the covetousness of the sect leader, so he mined the energy stones himself. Although Su Shanju is an ancient warrior at the pinnacle of the Earth sect, mining energy stones is a delicate job and should not be done too roughly, Otherwise the energy stones will be destroyed, so you can only dig them bit by bit. Therefore, after mining more than 100 stones, he was exhausted and panting. But when he thought that an energy stone was worth 5 million, Su Shanja became very motivated, with an expression of excitement on his face, and at the same time he was extremely grateful to Dong Wenzheng. The head of the Dong family is really a good person. He found a market for the energy stone for me. When I get to Jiangbei, I will thank him. Moreover, I will pay special attention to him in the future. Su Shanju was talking to himself and wiping the sweat from his forehead, like a little old man doing farm work in the fields. At this time, Jimen Black Market, room on the second floor. Su Yang sat cross-legged and had asked Lu Hui to collect the auxiliary medicinal materials for refining snow lotus pill for him, and now the medicinal materials were in front of him. The great elder can't wait to deliver the goods to your door. Haha, okay, one day is enough for me to advance to the 7th level of Qi training. Su Yang saw the text message from Dong Wenzheng, and then mobilized his spiritual energy to start refining the snow lotus pill. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 223. In the room. The 5,000-year-old snow lotus and various auxiliary medicinal materials were suspended in the air under Su Yang's control, and the whole room was filled with spiritual energy. However, in order to avoid attracting attention, Su Yang had previously placed a barrier in the room so that outsiders could not detect everything in the room. Although the snow lotus pill is not a high-grade pill, it can be easily refined with Su Yang's methods. But now, Su Yang does not have an alchemy furnace, so the refining requires caution and special attention, so the speed is much slower, at least 3 or 4 hours. The great elder would simply arrive at night, so he had plenty of time and was completely in time. Next, Su Yang immersed himself in refining the snow lotus pill wholeheartedly. In the storage ring, Shifen is also practicing. She swallowed the essence and blood of the 4th elder, the 3rd elder, the 2nd elder, and the 3 of them one after another. The spiritual energy generated by these blood essences can completely help her transcend levels and complete a transformation. As for the extent of the breakthrough, it is unknown, but it will at least be the 7th level of Qi training. After all, the 3 elders of the Shadowless sect are not weak in strength, and they are all at the Earth sect level. Especially the 2nd elder is even more terrifying, having already entered the late stage of the Earth sect. Su Yang took action with all his strength, used the teleportation technique, and used the teleportation function to defeat him unscathed. If it weren't for Tianya, if Su Yang wanted to defeat the 2nd elder Qin Xianglian, he would probably have to pay a relatively high price, or at least be seriously injured. The combined essence and blood of the 3 elders was so powerful that Shifen fell into a deep state of cultivation after devouring it. At the same time, Wuying sect, the top of the mountain. Duan Sihai was wearing a robe, standing with his hands behind his back, facing the cliff. Behind him stood a young man in his 20s, with starry eyes and sharp eyebrows, and a resolute face. This man is none other than the eldest son of the Nalan family in Jiangbei, Nalan Wudao. His actual identity is the grandson of Duan Sihai, the leader of the Wuying sect. Many years ago, Nalan Wudao came to Wuying sect to practice. Because of his good talent, he was deeply loved by Duan Sihai. Wudao, I heard that you have entered the realm of a master at this time, Duan Sihai asked. Yes, Grandpa. Nalan Wudao responded respectfully, I broke through to the master level yesterday, and my grandson will definitely come out on top in the sect competition. Well, okay, your identity is rather embarrassing in the Shadowless section. I know that my descendants have been targeting you. Duan Sihai turned around, patted Nalan Wudao on the shoulder, and said with a pleased smile, but as long as you can win the sect competition, you can completely shut their mouths. Also, the competition within the sect is only to select young masters to participate in the 100 sects martial arts competition. At that time, all the ancient martial arts sects in the world will send masters to participate. Duan Sihai smiled and said, Wuodeo, if you can achieve results in the 100 sects martial arts competition, you will be truly proud. Not only will you become famous, but you will also bring glory to our Wuying section. Grandpa, my grandson must try his best not to let Grandpa down, Nalan Wuodeo said seriously. Duan Sihai nodded with satisfaction, then sighed and said, Hey, Wuodeo, you must have heard about the death of your master Ge Ping. Now the sect competition is coming soon, and the 100 sects martial arts competition is also imminent. Do you want to cheer up as soon as possible and don't be too sad? Grandpa, I understand. Nalan Wuodeo showed a hint of pain on his face, and then said solemnly, my grandson must focus on the two competitions and prepare carefully so as not to disappoint Grandpa. Well, he is indeed my good grandson. Duan Sihai smiled appreciatively, and then said, the murderer of your master has been executed. You have nothing to think about. You can go into seclusion and practice. Yes. Grandpa, say goodbye. Nalan Wuodeo clasped his fists respectfully, then strode away from the top of the mountain. Watching Nalan Wuodeo leave, Duan Sihai smiled with satisfaction and said, haha, there is a successor to the shadowless section. After this competition, Wuodeo's name can be written into the genealogy of my Duan family. Duan Sihai then laughed and said, by then, his last name should also be changed to Duan Wuodeo, haha, not bad, a good name. Whoosh. Duan Shi interrupted and then asked, where did Su Shanja go? If it's not what I expected, he must have gone to Jiangbei to get the snow lotus at this moment. Shi Xian smiled softly, then went straight to the point and asked, have you sent someone to do the things I told you? At this time, a shadowless sect disciple hurriedly ran up and knelt on the ground respectfully. Haha, Jiangbei is just a corner of the country, and the Su family is even more inferior. How can I be worthy of being the leader of my section? Duan Sihai said with a strategizing smile, let's just wait and see what happens and wait for Su Shanja to eat the highly poisonous snow lotus. Also, hearing this, Duan Sihai smiled softly and said, however, since Mr. Shi has such an interest, I will accompany you for a while. Okay, that's it. Thank you very much, sect leader Duan. Don't worry, I will benefit from you once the matter is completed, Shi Xian said with a smile. Shi Xian was very dissatisfied when he heard this, but he had no choice but to agree. Okay, no need to explain. Sect Master Duan is too polite. I don't know, I don't dare to follow you, the disciple said cautiously. What? Go to Jiangbei. Reporting to the sect leader, the great elder has gone down the mountain 2 hours ago, the disciple responded quickly. Duan Sihai responded, the remaining elders have not set foot in the earth sect and cannot be reused. Why not wait for a few more days? Get out. Duan Sihai said in a deep voice, he has been gone for 2 hours, why did you tell me now? Just when Duan Sihai was looking up to the sky and laughing, a figure suddenly appeared. You're welcome, Master Shi. This is what I should do. Master Shi. Can't you see that there are distinguished guests here? What a shame. After Duan Sihai and Shi Xian exchanged a few words, they jumped off the cliff together and left the shadowless sect. Sect Master, the great elder is very powerful, and the dragon has its head but not its tail. Secondly, there is no need to wait for the elders of your section, you accompany me to destroy the Su family. I also want to see with my own eyes the tragic death of those evildoers in the Su family. It will be very interesting, haha, Shi Xian suggested coldly. Duan Sihai first blamed, then said calmly, what happened? The person who came was none other than Shi Xian, who was dressed in green clothes. When Shi Xian heard this, He paused for a few seconds, and then a smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Sect Master Duan, why don't we go to Jiangbei too, and keep an eye on Su Shanju, lest he die from the poison without us being around, and the treasure will be lost again, let others take advantage. Duan Sihai reprimanded loudly and drove the disciple away, then looked at Shi Xian and said, Master Shi, don't worry, Su Shanju can't escape from the palm of my hand. Report. Sect Leader Duan, why are you so happy? Waste. Duan Sihai took a closer look, and then said with a smile, young Master Shi is here, but I am not welcome from afar. Master Shi, it's a coincidence that several powerful elders in my sect were unable to be contacted for a while. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 224. Before we knew it, night fell. Jiangbei, Jimen Black Market. At around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Su Yang successfully refined the Snow Lotus pill and swallowed it. With the powerful effect of Snow Lotus pill, Su Yang easily reached the 7th level of Qi training. Now his strength has improved by leaps and bounds, and the spiritual energy in his body has more than doubled than before. In addition to the 5,000-year-old Snow Lotus, Su Yang also got 100 energy stones yesterday. He concluded that if he refined these energy stones and combined them with the remaining medicinal effects of Snow Lotus pill, he would have a chance to reach the 8th level of Qi training. But recently, Su Yang has made breakthroughs one after another. Although he has the soul of the immortal emperor and there is no bottleneck in his cultivation, after all, this body is relatively stretched. If he breaks through too fast, his foundation will be unstable and his body will be drained prematurely, which will have an impact on subsequent cultivation. Therefore, Su Yang slowed down the pace of advancement and only absorbed a dozen energy stones to stabilize his state. Ding dong. At this moment, Su Yang suddenly received a WeChat voice message from Li Feiquan. Su Yang, what are you doing? You haven't been looking for me all day. After listening to the voice, Su Yang smiled and replied, I'm at the Jimen Black Market, and I have something to solve tonight. Well, I won't disturb you anymore. Where is Yu Yu? I miss Yu Yu and plan to meet her. Li Feiquan did not ask what Su Yang was busy with, but asked about Su Yu. She should be at the Su family manor. She went there early in the morning. Copy that, then I'll go to the Su family manor to find her first. Remember to pick us up when you're done. Okay. After a brief communication with his wife, Su Yang put away his phone and walked out of the room. Owner. By chance, Lu Hui and Wang Sai were about to go upstairs. After seeing Su Yang, Lu Hui said respectfully, there is a man named Dong Wenzheng from outside, who claims to be your subordinate and asks to see you. I understand, let him come over, Su Yang said lightly. Yes. Lu Hui hurriedly agreed, and then left with Wang Sai. When he appeared again, he brought Dong Wenzheng with him. Master Dong Wenzheng greeted Su Yang respectfully. Su Yang looked at Dong Wenzheng and asked, Dong Wenzheng, is the great elder here? Reporting to Master, I just received news from the great elder that he has arrived in Jiangbei. Dong Wenzheng responded respectfully, if nothing happens, we will arrive at the Jimen Black Market in half an hour. However, the great elder changed his mind. He didn't want to trade in the Nine Gates Black Market, but changed the meeting place. Su Yang frowned and said, what's going on? Did he notice it? That's not true. Dong Wenzheng smiled and said, Master, the great elder discovered this energy stone mine, but it seems that he did not tell the sect master. The Jimen Black Market is a mixed bag, and it is inevitable that there will be people from the ancient martial arts section. He is afraid that when he comes here, he will be recognized by others, which will cause a lot of trouble. Dong Wenzheng continued, just in case, the great elder wants to find a place where there are few people to trade. Haha, this old guy is quite cooperative. A playful smile appeared on Su Yang's lips, and then he said lightly, has he decided on a location? Yeah, Dong Wenzheng said truthfully, Dongshan Forest. Why is it Dongshan Forest again? Su Yang smiled softly, and then said, forget it, tell him, no problem, the people from the Jimin Black Market will be here soon, let him wait in the Dongshan Forest first. Yes. Dong Wenzheng agreed and called Su Shanju on the spot and relayed Su Yang's meaning to Su Shanju. After hanging up the phone, Dong Wenzheng smiled and said, Master, it's done. The Great Elder is already on his way to Dongshan Forest. Su Yang nodded lightly, turned his gaze to Lu Hui, and said calmly, Lu Hui, don't worry, although I used the name of the Nine Gates Black Market to deceive the elder of the Shadowless sect this time, I will not do anything to him. The reputation of Jimin Black Market has been damaged, because this great elder will die tonight. Owner. When Lu Hui heard this, he couldn't help but worry. I heard that the great elder of Wu Ying sect is very powerful and has reached the pinnacle of Earth Section U. He. Su Yang smiled and said, don't worry too much. Since I set up this trap, I will be sure to eat him. Yes. After hearing this, Lu Hui no longer worried, but applied, Master, Wang Sai and I have nothing to do tonight, so we can go with you. Need not. Su Yang shook his head and refused, then looked at Dong Wenzheng and said calmly, Dong Wenzheng, come with me. As you command. Dong Wenzheng was overjoyed and glanced at Lu Hui and Wang Sai with provocative eyes. He felt proud to be manipulated by Su Yang. That's all. Dong Wenzheng drove Su Yang and left the Jimin Black Market. When Su Yang came here, he had already disguised himself as Su Xiantian, so there was no need to disguise himself now. At this moment, at the beginning of the Jiangbei lanterns, all kinds of neon lights flashed, full of modern atmosphere. Suddenly, two figures dressed in retro clothes appeared on the bustling street. These two people were Shixian and Duan Sihai. One of them is wearing a brown robe and the other is wearing a green shirt. They look like they have stepped out of the TV and are incompatible with the modern streets. But nowadays, many young people like retro-style clothes. Regardless of men or women, you can often see people shopping in ancient costumes, so passers-by on the street have long been accustomed to it. Mr. Shi, my informant has found out clearly that Su Shanju got a load of energy stones from somewhere and is on his way to the Jimin Black Market. He seems to be selling them to the Jimin Black Market at this time, Duan Sihai said. Energy stone. Shi Xian paused, then smiled, and said, I know, it is probably mined from the mountains in the south of the Yangtze River. The treasure he obtained contains special energy, which infected the surrounding stones, thus forming the energy stone. Shi Xian smiled and said, I've known about this for a long time, but I couldn't find a market for the energy stone, and I was afraid that rash mining would alarm Su Shanju, so I didn't take action. Unexpectedly, he found a buyer. Haha, this is better, let him sell the cart of energy stones to the Jimin Black Market. Shi Xian smiled playfully and said, in this way, after he swallows the poisonous snow lotus and dies from the poison, the treasure will belong to me, and the money gained from selling the energy stones will belong to you. Sect Master Duan, what do you think? Haha, Mr. Shi is wise. Duan Sihai showed a smile and then asked, then, Mr. Shi, what should we do next? Wait for Su Shanju to come out outside the Jimin Black Market and keep an eye on him secretly. Don't worry, his transaction with the Jimin Black Market will take time. Let's deal with the Su family first, and then deal with Su Shanju. He can't escape, Shi Xian said with a smile. Okay, Duan Sihai nodded in agreement. Su Qincan, Su Shenbing, I allowed you to save your life last time, but this time, you won't be so lucky. Shi Xian narrowed his eyes slightly, with fierce murderous intent emerging from his eyes. Then, he and Duan Sihai disappeared into the night and went straight to the Su family manor. Half an hour later. Dongshan Woods. A cargo truck was parked here. The compartment was covered with a black cloth, and it was impossible to see what was on it. At this moment, an old man with a beard stepped out of the passenger seat. It was Su Shanju, the great elder of Wuying sect. You asked me to bring the goods here, why didn't you arrange for someone to unload the goods? The driver in the driver's seat stuck his head out and muttered, "It's really inexplicable. I'm dragging a load of rocks to the wilderness in the middle of the night. If it weren't for the large amount of money, I wouldn't have accepted the order. Hurry up and call someone to unload the goods. It's time for me to go home." "I don't have time to wait for you," Lalamov's driver urged. He. Su Shanju's eyes fell on the driver and he said calmly, "I'm afraid you won't be able to go home." "What do you mean, old guy, you, The driver of Lalamove was about to say something, but Su Shanju suddenly took action, and a burst of Genkai quickly cut through the driver's neck. Puff! The throat was severed and bright red blood spurted out. The driver died instantly and died in the driver's seat. An ordinary person dares to yell at me. He doesn't know how to live or die. Su Shanju showed a smile, as if he had just done a trivial thing. Then, he was going to call Dong Wenzheng and ask when the people from Jimin Black Market would arrive. But at this moment, strong headlights flashed, and a Land Rover parked not far away. Immediately afterwards, Dong Wenzheng walked out of the car. "Great elder." Dong Wenzheng did not approach Su Shanju, but stood in front of the car and asked with a smile, "Have you brought all the energy stones?" "I brought it, a total of 1100. Su Shanju didn't notice anything was wrong at all, and smiled softly, "Master Dong, are the people from the Jimin Black Market here?" "Here it comes, right here." Dong Wenzheng showed a smile, then bowed down respectfully and opened the passenger door. Next moment, Su Yang got out of the car and stood beside the car, looking at Su Shanju from a distance. "I am the great elder of Wuying sect, Su Shanju. It's a pleasure to meet you, Su Shanju was about to get close to the people in Jimin Black Market, but when he took a closer look, his brows instantly wrinkled. Are you Su Xiantian?" After the Ge Ping incident came out, Su Shanju saw Su Suanation's photo, so he recognized Su Yang at a glance. "Good." Su Yang walked towards Su Shanju and said with a smile, "The great elder has good eyesight. He can recognize me at a glance even if he has never met me before." Su Shanju's face was full of confusion, and he frowned and said, "Su Xiantian, aren't you dead? Your head. You're not dead, your head is fake." As he said this, Su Shanju suddenly realized. "Good." Su Yang smiled softly and said, "Great elder, I didn't expect you to be quite smart." Snort. Su Shanju snorted coldly, then glanced at Dong Wenzheng, then at Su Yang, and said coldly, "Is this a play performed by you and Dong Wenzheng in collusion? What is your purpose? To defraud 5,000-year-old Snow Lotus?" Speaking of this, Su Shanju stared at Dong Wenzheng coldly and said in a deep voice, "Dong Wenzheng, you are so brave, you actually collaborated with outsiders to deceive the sect leader. You don't want to live, do you? Tell me where Swilian is at this moment, and maybe I can spare your life." Su Shanju's face was as dark as water and he said, "If you don't tell me, I will cut you into pieces." After all, Su Shanju was at the pinnacle of the Earth sect, and the aura around him was astonishingly strong. Although Dong Wenzheng had made rapid progress in the past 2 days, he did not dare to meet Su Shanju's gaze and lowered his head in a hurry. "Humph, if you don't say so, okay, I'll break your bones into pieces one by one to vent the hatred in my heart." Su Shanju's face was gloomy, his true energy surged in his palms, and he immediately walked towards Dong Wenzheng. "Great elder." At this time, Su Yang smiled softly and said, "It's useless to worry about getting angry, the Snow Lotus has already been eaten by me." "What?" When Su Shanju heard this, he became furious. He gritted his teeth and said, Su Xiantian, what did you say? Say it again. Snow Lotus, I ate it, Su Yang repeated. Hateful. That's what I'm interested in. How dare you, a piece of rubbish at the earth sect level, get there first and seek death. Su Shanja couldn't bear it anymore and quickly slapped Su Yang with his palm. Whoosh. When Su Yang saw this, he used Ju Qi Tianya, his body instantly disappeared on the spot, and he hid. Tonight, every one of the people in this manner will die. Su Yang did not let Su Shanja go, but stepped forward and continued to attack. In an instant, the palms of the two people touched each other, and a terrifying battle aftermath spread out in all directions. What a powerful force! You are actually as strong as me, and you have also reached the pinnacle of the earth sect. Su Shanja stabilized his body, his face was full of shock, he looked at Su Yang warily, and asked, Su Xiantian, where do you come from? Boom. After that, Su Yang and Su Shanja flew upside down at the same time, landing 4 or 5 meters away before landing on the ground. Haha, great elder, stop talking nonsense, everyone is very busy, just take action and see what happens. Su Shanja was taken aback, with horror written all over his face. He hurriedly resisted, and finally managed to survive. Su Shanja gritted his teeth, then mobilized all his strength to face Su Yang. Su Yang's eyes were sharp and he didn't want to say anything. He quickly formed 2 water dragons and directly used the water dragon technique. Su Yang smiled softly, and then used his close range to launch an attack quickly. Boom! Boom! At this moment. Boom! Su Shanja calmed down, was shocked, and murmured, what a fast speed, Su Xiantian, you are not a half-step earth sect, what realm have you set foot in? Su Shanja noticed Su Yang's weirdness and did not dare to be careless, so he hurriedly attacked with all his strength. Roar! 2 water dragons composed of spiritual energy appeared instantly and roared towards Su Shanja. Su Yang has stepped into the 7th level of Qi training and is completely unafraid of the peak of the earth section. It is estimated that he will be defeated within 100 rounds. In this way, the two of them fought together, with fallen leaves flying and spiritual energy and true energy raging. Shi Xian and Duan Sihai visited the Su family manor. Su Qianqan, Su Shenbing, get out and die. Shi Xian showed no mercy, and sent away the approaching servant with a palm. He raised a cold smile at the corner of his mouth and murmured. Boom! You are so young and at the peak of the earth section. Looking at the modern history of the ancient martial arts world, I have never heard of it. Huh, that's too much. But so much nonsense. Now, several servants from the manor came forward, and one of them asked politely, 2 of you, who are you looking for? Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 225. Su Family Manor. Su Shenbing is practicing in his study, and he has been under increasing pressure recently. This pressure comes from Su Yang on the one hand. Damn it! I often complain that my son is a waste and cannot be reused. As a result, my son's strength is now almost the same as mine, which is so annoying. It's not okay to continue like this. He must adjust his body as soon as possible and be stronger than his son. Otherwise, he will lose the confidence to scold his son in the future. On the other hand, the family's crisis is imminent. As the head of the Su family, Su Shenbing is naturally eager to improve his strength. But at this moment, he suddenly heard someone shouting outside, and his face instantly became serious. No, it's that person. He came to the Su family again. Xiaoteng. Su Shenbing stood up and said in a deep voice, call all the masters of the Su family immediately and follow me out to have a look. Yes. Xiaoteng, who was next to him, agreed respectfully, and then followed Su Shenbing out of the study. At the same time, Su family, Underground secret room. Sukyankin sat cross-legged with his eyes slightly closed. He was also practicing and heard the movement outside at this moment. What is supposed to come will finally come. Sukyankin sighed, a solemn look appeared on his wrinkled face, and murmured, I hope the Suk family can escape this disaster. After talking to himself, Sukyankin did not stop and left the underground secret room. At this time, only if he takes action can he have a chance to defeat the young master, and the Suk family will have a chance of survival. Now Sukyankin only prays that if that person's injury has not completely healed, he can repel him like last time. At this time, Dongshan dense forest. Su Yang was fighting fiercely with the great elder Su Shanju, causing a huge noise. Leaves were falling and energy was raging. Although true energy is much weaker than spiritual energy. But Su Shanju has been practicing for dozens or hundreds of years, and his achievements in ancient martial arts are particularly terrifying. The pinnacle of the Earth sect, an elder of the first sect. With such strength, he can completely establish a sect and become the leader of the sect himself. As for Su Yang, he had only practiced for more than half a month. Even though his spiritual energy was powerful, he could not easily crush Su Shanju. After all, a pack of wild wolves can pose a threat to a male lion. The true energy is weak, but Su Shanju's true energy is abundant and strong enough to be able to compete with Su Yang's spiritual energy. But Su Yang relied on the strangeness of being so close to the end of the world to still suppress Su Shanju. Looking at the overall situation, Su Shanju has no power to fight back and can only passively defend and neutralize Su Yang's offensive. Boom! Suddenly, Su Yang caught a flaw in Su Shanju's body and directly used the water dragon technique to repel him. Su Shanju's body flew upside down 4 to 5 meters before landing on the ground. Fortunately, he was at a high level and could barely stabilize his body. Puff! Then, Su Shanju spat out a mouthful of blood, stared at Su Yang with a sinking face, and said coldly, Su Xiantian, I didn't expect that you are so powerful. I am not your opponent. It surprises me. However, Su Xiantian, don't be too proud. If you push me into a hurry, don't blame me for trying my best to kill you, Su Shanju threatened in a deep voice. He. Su Yang dismissed it, took a step forward, and said playfully, I'm about to die, and you're still uttering arrogant words. Why do you want to kill me? Snored. Su Shanju's face darkened and he said coldly, since you don't know what is good and what is good, don't blame me for being rude. If I had met you a few days ago, maybe I would have fallen into your hands, but now, I am absolutely sure that I will kill you. Su Shanju's expression became much more relaxed, he squinted his eyes slightly and said with a smile, to be honest, a few days ago, in the mountains of Jiangnan, I not only discovered an energy stone mine, but also obtained a treasure. This treasure has terrifying power. I have studied it and can kill all the masters below the Tian zone. Su Shanju continued, but the true energy in my body can only be activated once. After that attack, all the true energy in my body will be empty and I will enter a weak state. Therefore, I have not used it. But now, Su Xiantian, you have gone too far and touched my bottom line. I have no choice but to use it to kill you. As he spoke, Su Shanju reached into his arms and took out a strange-shaped object. This thing is completely black, not a knife or a sword, and its shape and size are like a cucumber. The material of this object looks like black iron or a meteorite from the sky. Su Yang can't tell the difference at a glance. But he could clearly feel that this cucumber-like thing contained a terrifying aura. Such a strong spiritual energy, this is definitely not an ordinary thing. Su Yang felt happy and looked at the thing in Su Shanju's hand with burning eyes, and couldn't help but be moved by his thoughts. Rob. Be sure to grab this one. Su Xiantian, don't blame me, you forced me to do this. At this moment, Su Shanju had a gloomy face and suddenly threw the things in his hands into the air. Immediately afterwards, he changed his palms and poured all the Genkai in his body into this cucumber-like thing. Buzz! In an instant, the object shone with golden light, emitting a dazzling light and emitting terrifying power. Give me, kill. Then, Su Shanju's face darkened and he raised his hand to push Su Yang. Next moment, this object was like a meteor, piercing the void, and struck and killed Su Yang with lightning speed. Not good. This time, Su Yang was shocked and quickly used so far to dodge. Haha, Su Xiantian, it's useless, it has already locked onto you, kill it. Su Shanju smiled coldly, but it could be clearly seen that there was not much true energy left in his body and his breath was relatively weak. However, Su Shanju did not panic at all, because he was sure that his attack could kill Su Xiantian. At this moment, Su Yang kept using close to the end, flashing his body, to avoid the pursuit of that thing. This is not the way to go. It seems we have no choice but to use the talisman refined previously. Thinking of this, Su Yang felt distressed, but there was nothing he could do. He had no choice but to take out a pair of underwear from the storage ring and threw it into the air. Don't underestimate these pants. Su Yang spent 20 energy stones to refine this attack talisman. The destructive power it possesses is terrifying. Haha, Su Xiantian, you were scared to death, weren't you? You took out a pair of underwear and thought. Su Shanju saw the talisman in his pants and was about to taunt Su Yang, but before he could finish his words, a loud noise came from the scene. Boom! The trousers talisman and the cucumber-like thing collided together. In an instant, the aftermath was raging, and the surrounding trees were broken. Dong Wenzheng, who was hiding in the distance, was injured by the shock. He spat out a mouthful of blood and turned pale. Su Shanju was exhausted and unable to resist the aftermath. He was knocked to the ground and coughed up blood. But Su Yang was fine. He circulated his spiritual energy to form a protective shield to protect himself. At the same time, he separated a line of spiritual energy to protect Dong Wenzheng. Although Dong Wenzhen's son Dong Zikan had offended him before, it was considered a small grudge. However, Dong Wenzheng has been working for him these days, and things are going well. Su Yang will naturally not burn bridges. After a few seconds, the aftermath stopped raging and the scene became calm. Su Yang immediately looked forward and found that the underpants talisman had been turned into ashes, but the cucumber-like items were intact. Fortunately, the underpants talisman neutralized the attack of the object. The object lost its aggressiveness and floated quietly in the air, emitting a gentle light. My treasure! Seeing this, Su Shanju quickly stood up and wanted to regain control of this thing. But Su Yang had sharp eyes and quick hands. He stepped forward and grabbed it directly in his hand. Then he smiled domineeringly and said, I'm sorry, it's mine now. Su Xiantian. Su Shanju was furious, his eyes were cold, and he stared at Su Yang with gritted teeth. But then, he reacted and couldn't help but take a few steps back, with a hint of fear in his eyes. Su Xiantian, I have no deep grudge against you. If you want snow lotus or energy stones, I will give them to you. Let's shake hands and make peace, okay? Hee hee. Su Yang heard this, his eyes fell on Su Shanju, and said calmly, Old man, now you have no real energy in your body. I can kill you with my hand. Is it too late to shake hands and make peace now? With that said, Su Yang took a step forward, with a murderous intent in his eyes. Su Shanju panicked, his expression particularly horrified. He has been in a high position for decades and has always been the great elder of the shadowless section. One person is inferior to 10,000 people, and he has developed the aura of a superior. But in the face of life and death, Su Shanju was afraid. After some mental struggle, he finally chose to give in and gritted his teeth and said, Su Xiantian, I admit that my skills are not as good as others, but you don't want to kill them all. I have been at the top of the Earth sect for many years, and I am about to die. I'm about to be promoted to Tianzone. I don't want to die. What do you want to do to let me go? When Su Yang heard this, he stopped immediately. After thinking for a moment, he said, Su Shanju, you can spare your life if you want me to, but you must surrender to me and be my slave. From now on, you can only. Is it okay to work for me alone? While speaking, Su Yang mobilized his spiritual energy and formed a water dragon in his palm. As long as Su Shanju refuses, he will kill him without hesitation to avoid future troubles. Servant. When Su Shanju heard Su Yang's words, his face suddenly turned ugly and his expression was complicated. He has been practicing for nearly 100 years and is a dignified master of the Earth section. If he had not lived comfortably in Wuying sect, he could have founded a sect and become the leader. Now, a boy in his early 20s actually wanted to make him his slave. For a moment, Su Shanju couldn't accept it. Feeling the threat of the water dragon in Su Yang's palm, Su Shanju struggled deep in his heart. Su Xiantian, you win. After a pause for a few seconds, Su Shanju sighed, and finally chose to compromise, kneeling down and saying, Master, I, Su Shanju, am willing to go through fire and water for you, no matter what, and if I violate this oath, I will not die a good death. I, as a person, have never believed in oaths. Su Yang smiled faintly, then made a secret with both hands and inserted the master-servant contract into Su Shanju's body, and then said, Now, your life is completely in my hands. If you dare to have the idea of betraying me, I only need to think about it. It can kill your soul in an instant. The villain dare not. Su Shanju really felt that Su Yang was not lying, and now it seemed as if there was a sharp sword floating in his mind, which could kill him at any time. What kind of weird method is this? It's so terrifying. It seems that the origin of the master is extraordinary. At this time, Su Yang looked at Su Shanju and nodded with satisfaction. He has always been ruthless and decisive towards his enemies. Original. Su Yang planned to kill Su Shanju, but he thought that this man was not weak and the Su family was facing a crisis. If he cultivated him, he might be able to help in the future. Therefore, Su Yang spared Su Shanju's life. Since there was a soul contract to check and balance him, he would never dare to betray him. After subduing Su Shanju, Su Yang walked towards the truck not far away, and then pulled off the black cloth. Immediately afterwards, more than 1,000 energy stones came into view, neatly arranged. Haha, it takes no effort at all. Su Yang waved his hand and put all these energy stones into the storage ring. Disappeared. When Su Shanju saw this scene, his expression was stunned for a moment, and he couldn't help but feel a sense of awe towards Su Yang. Weird. This method was so weird that it completely subverted his understanding of the world. Su Shanju. After putting away the energy stones, Su Yang asked calmly, how many energy stones are left unmined in the energy stone mine you discovered? Reporting to the master, my subordinates have mined all the energy stones. It is just a small vein. Su Shanju continued, according to my subordinates' inference, the reason why the mountain produced small mineral veins may have something to do with the treasure in your hand. It should be that it infected the surrounding stones, thus forming the energy stone. Well, your guess should be pretty close. Su Yang nodded, and then his eyes fell on the cucumber-like treasure. He looked at it carefully and soon found a few small words on the side, key to the East Palace, is this a key? The refining material for this object, if I read it correctly, should be star meteorite. This kind of thing is rare in the Xiantian immortal realm. It is a rare weapon refining material. Su Yang was full of curiosity and thought to himself, who would use such a thing to make a key? Could the so-called East Mansion be the mansion of a certain powerful man? What is hidden inside, and the key is actually made of stars and meteorites? Su Yang didn't know, so he simply put the key to the East Palace into the storage ring and stopped thinking about it. Su Shanju, I have indeed eaten the 5,000-year-old snow lotus, so you don't have to worry about it. At this time, Su Yang looked at Su Shanju and said calmly, but don't worry, as long as you serve me loyally, I will find a way for you to set foot in Tianzong as soon as possible. Tianzong is the realm after Earth Zone. The ancient martial arts system consists of Ming Jin, Dark Jin, Hua Jin, Grandmaster, Earth Sect, and Tian Sect. Few people have set foot in the realm after Tianzong. The methods are so miraculous that it is called Shenzong. Thank you, Master. Su Shanju agreed respectfully, but did not believe too much in Su Yang's words. After all, he has worked hard for decades and still has not set foot in Tianzong. What can the master do? You know, there is a long gap between the Tianzong and the earthly sect. If you can set foot in Tianzong, you can definitely establish a medium ancient martial arts sect, and all the major forces in the ancient martial arts world will extend an olive branch. Su Yang naturally saw Su Shanju's thoughts, but he didn't say much, intending to speak with the facts. Although he is currently unable to raise his hand to help Su Shanju break through to Tianzong. However, by using energy stones and setting up a small magic circle, the spiritual energy can be converted into a huge amount of true energy for Su Shanju to absorb. With enough energy, not to mention an old guy like Su Shanju with good talent, even a pig can advance. You and Dong Wenzhong should go back to recuperate first. If you need medicinal materials to replenish your true energy, let Dong Wenzhong go to the Jimin black market to get them, Su Yang said calmly. As you command. Su Shanju clasped his fists respectfully. Although he did not believe that Su Yang could help him break through, he had already recognized Su Yang as his master, and his attitude was naturally one of awe. Next, Su Yang was about to make an appointment for Su Shanju to come to him and help him advance to Tianzong. By then, the Su family would have a trump card. But at this time, he suddenly received a call from Guo Yi. Young master, something bad has happened. After the call was connected, Guo Yi's anxious voice came from inside. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 226. Su Yang frowned and said, what's wrong? Reporting to the eldest young master, Xiaoting contacted me just now and said that enemies of the Su family are here. They are at the Su family manor at the moment. He was ordered by the family master to take you away from Jiangbei. The farther away the better, Guo Yi was anxious. Said. What? When Su Yang heard this, he immediately hung up the phone and hurriedly used close to the end of the world, and his figure instantly disappeared on the spot. Coming. The Black Hand is finally here. How dare you plot against the Su family? Tonight, I will cut you into pieces. At the same time, Su family manor. Su Qincan, Su Shenbing, Xiaoting, and all the Su family secret guards were confronting Shi Xian and Duan Sihai. This young master, who are you, and why have you targeted the Su family so many times? Su Qincan stood at the front and asked with a solemn expression. He. Shi Xian showed a playful smile and said coldly, old man, you are not qualified to know my identity. Tonight, everyone in the Su family will die. When Su Qincan heard this, he said with an unkind expression, humph, what you said is too absolute. I can stop you once, but I can stop you a second time. Our Su family is not a soft persimmon. Ha, old man, you are indeed not weak in strength. Su Qincan, who has short hair and white hair, has something. Shi Xian smiled disdainfully and said, last time, I just didn't expect that there would be masters in the late Earth sect realm in the small Jiangbei, so I missed it. But this time, I brought help so I didn't have to do it myself. Shi Xian looked at Duan Sihai next to him and said calmly, "Sect leader Duan, you can start. However, I have changed my mind. I don't want to kill anyone. I want everyone in the Su family to have their hands and feet cut off and suffer all kinds of torture." Shi Xian smiled playfully, "This should be more interesting than killing them, haha. Yes. After receiving the order, Duan Shi took a step forward and said coldly, "Sukinkan, right? I can tell you my name. I am the leader of Wuying sect, Duan Sihai." When speaking, Duan Shi no longer concealed the aura around him and released it all. Shadowless section. Sect Master. Sukinkan's expression changed drastically, and he said in a deep voice, "Your aura is so terrifying, you are Tianzong. He. You have a good vision." Duan Sihai smiled softly and said, "With my strength, it would indeed be beneath my status to attack you. But you are unlucky. It happened that my sect leader accompanied Mr. Shi to Jiangbei to handle matters, so I could only deal with you easily and fulfill Mr. Shi's wish. Now, accept Master Shi's trial." As soon as he finished speaking, Duan Sihai's eyes flashed, and he immediately clapped his palm, and a terrifying blast of qi quickly struck at Sukinkan. Sukinkan took a breath of cold air and hurriedly took action to resist, but he was only in the late stage of Earth sect and was no match for Duan Sihai. Boom! After one move, Sukinkan was blown away, his body fell heavily to the ground, and he vomited blood. "Father!" When Su Shenbing saw this, he became furious and charged towards Duan Sihai with gnashing teeth. But his end was the same as Sukinkan's. His body fell next to Sukinkan, coughing up blood. "Humph, even a waste in the Huajin realm dares to attack Tianzong. You are overestimating your own capabilities." Duan Sihai snorted coldly and murmured, "If Mr. Shi hadn't wanted to torture you, this sect master's palm would have been enough to blast you into blood mist." Ha ha! When Shi Xian saw this scene, he looked up to the sky and laughed, "Sukinkan, Su Shenbing, now you know how powerful I am, it's really easy to deal with you." With that said, Shi Xian strode up to the Su family and his son. Now Sukinkan and Su Shenbing have completely lost their fighting ability and are lying on the ground dying. "Haha, stop struggling, I will crush your bones with my own hands and turn you into reptiles." A playful smile appeared on Shi Xian's face, and then he suddenly took action. Click! 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 At the scene, the sound of broken bones continued to sound. The Su family father and son were in agony, with a layer of sweat on their foreheads. "Protect the head of the family and the master." Xiaoting and the Su family's secret guards were standing next to them and hurried forward. Court death. Before Duan Sihai could take action, Shi Xian waved his hand and knocked everyone to the ground. Among them, the strongest one is Xiaoting, who is in the realm of energy transformation and is no match for Shi Xian. Ah! In the blink of an eye, Xiaoting and others were lying on the ground wailing, all losing their ability to fight. "Sukinkan, Su Shenbing, let's continue." Shi Xian sneered, and then started again, torturing the Su family father and son bit by bit. Soon, the bones of the Su family's father and son were crushed, and they were completely transformed into cripples, with blood dripping from the torture all over their bodies. "Sukinkan, old man, no matter how arrogant you are, you almost left me in Jiangbei last time, but you are so arrogant this time." Shi Xian kicked Sukinkan on the side, causing Sukinkan's body to slide on the ground, and his back was bloody due to friction. Subsequently, Shi Xian raised his foot and stepped on Su Shenbing's face, lowered his head, and said with an evil smile, "Su Shenbing, you are just trash in the Huajin realm. I really don't know how Aunt Yuyan fell in love with you and did it for you. Give birth to a son. Haha, if Aunt Yuyan sees that you have been trampled under my feet and become a cripple, she will definitely be particularly disappointed in you, right?" Shi Xian smiled, and then ravaged Su Shenbing's face with the sole of his foot. Uncle Su, Grandpa Su, Grandpa, Great-Grandpa. At this moment, Li Feixuan appeared in the courtyard holding Su Yuyu's hand and happened to see the scene. Shi Xian's eyes immediately fell on Li Feixuan and Su Yuyu, and the smile on his face became even stronger. Yuyu, let's go quickly. Li Feixuan instantly realized that something was wrong and hurriedly pulled Su Yuyu to leave. Can you leave? Seeing this, Shi Xian jumped up and appeared in front of Li Feixuan and Su Yuyu. Then, he glanced at Li Feixuan and Su Yuyu, and said with a playful smile, "Haha, not bad, not bad. The big beauty is stunning, and the little beauty is beautiful. I like your mother-daughter combination very much. I am very lucky tonight, I met two extremely beautiful women, ha ha ha." Shi Xian licked his lips, with a greedy look in his eyes, and slowly stretched out his claws. Li Feixuan hurriedly held Su Yuyu in her arms, her beautiful face looking particularly frightened. Tisk tisk tisk, mother and daughter, I'm so blessed tonight, it's exciting just thinking about it. Shi Xian narrowed his eyes slightly, raised a playful smile at the corner of his mouth, and kept grabbing Li Feixuan with his hands. But at this moment, a cold voice came from far away, and the tone contained overwhelming anger. I do not care who you are. No matter where you come from. Tonight, I will take your life. When Jesus comes, no one can keep him. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 227. Coming. At the critical moment, Su Yang is here. He disguised himself as Su Xiantian, kept using his close proximity, and finally arrived at the Su family manor in time. Now that Su Yang has reached the 7th level of Qi training, the number of times he can use Zheji Tianya has increased several times. Even if he teleported from the Dongshan forest to the Su family manor, there was still a lot of spiritual energy in his body. Swish, swish, swish. At this moment, everyone's eyes were on Su Yang. My dear brother, you are my dear brother. Why is Uncle Xiantian here? Su Qianqian and Su Shenbing's eyes fell on Su Yang at the same time, and they were surprised and happy. Su Yang. When Li Feixuan heard the voice, her beautiful eyes fell on Su Xiantian. She silently recited Su Yang's name in her heart, and her nervousness was relieved a little. In her eyes, Su Yang is invincible. As long as Su Yang logs into Su Suanation's account, no one will be Su Yang's opponent. Therefore, seeing Su Suanation's face, Li Feixuan felt particularly at ease. Huh? It's Su Xiantian. Isn't he dead? Duan Sihai frowned slightly, his expression was very strange, and he didn't know what he was planning in his heart. Just like that, in full view of everyone, Su Yang walked into the courtyard step by step with Su Suanation's face on his face. Boy, are you Su Xiantian? At this time, Shi Xian stood aside and asked coldly. Good. Su Yang's eyes fell on Shi Xian, his eyes filled with murderous intent, and the air around him seemed to freeze. Aren't you dead? Shi Xian frowned slightly and said calmly, Sect leader Duan, what is going on? Not sure. Duan Sihai responded, I really saw Su Suanation's head. I didn't expect this kid to still be alive. If nothing else, I should have been fooled. Either he deceived Dong Wenzheng, or he and Dong Wenzheng teamed up to deceive me. At this point, Duan Sihai's expression darkened and he sneered, but it's not a big problem. He's not dead. I can kill him again. According to the news, it is already very difficult for him to kill Ji Yiping, who is half a step into the Earth Sect realm. At most, he is only half a step into the Earth Sect realm, so there is nothing to be afraid of, Duan Sihai said in a calm tone, as if he was sure of Su Yang and didn't even think about it. Su Yang took it seriously. Shi Xian nodded, then raised his eyes to look at Su Yang, and smiled softly. Su Xiantian, what did you just say? If you want to kill me, even Jesus can't keep you. Yes. Su Yang's eyes were cold and he said in a deep voice, but before I kill you, tell me who you are and why you are targeting the Su family. Maybe I can give you a good time. Ha ha ha. Give me a pleasure. When Shi Xian heard this, he couldn't help but laugh up to the sky, and then said with a playful smile, Su Xiantian, this is the funniest joke I have heard recently. You alone dare to speak arrogant words in front of me, you are a dog who doesn't know whether to live or die thing. But you are very brave. If you want to know my name, I will tell you. Shi Xian no longer concealed anything, and said arrogantly, my name is Shi Xian, from the place of Zen. As for why we are targeting the Su family, haha, after knowing my origin, the Su family and his son should have guessed it. You can ask them, Shi Xian said lightly. The place of Zen, Shikshuan. When Su Yang heard this, he vaguely felt that this matter was more difficult. He then looked at Su Qianqian and Su Shenbing and asked, what's going on? Brother Xian, this matter is a long story and involves many things. It's better that you don't know about it. Su Qianqian's bones were all broken and he was lying on the ground. His face was pale and weak. He sighed and said, tonight is the grudge between our Su family and him. Dear brother, please leave quickly. Good. Su Shenbing next to him also reacted and said quickly, Uncle Xiantian, these two people are very powerful. You are no match for them. Don't increase casualties and leave on your own. Grandfather? Dad? Su Yang looked at Su Qianqian and Su Shenbing, feeling particularly worried, but now, he had to calm down and not reveal his identity. The enemies of the Su family come from the land of Fengchan. Su Yang had some vague understanding of this force. The three top sects in the ancient martial arts world, the place of Zen, between the mountains and the sea, deep in the clouds and mists. Unexpectedly, the people who plotted against the Su family actually came from the land of Fengchan, which was beyond Su Yang's expectation. With Su Yang's current strength, it is impossible to compete with the Fengchan land. Therefore, he must hide his identity and not let others know that Su Xiantian is Su Yang, the dandy eldest son of the Su family, otherwise he will become the target of public criticism. But it's different if he hides his identity. After tonight, no one will know that he is Su Xiantian, and naturally it won't cause him any trouble. Brother. So, Su Yang acted, looked at his grandfather, and said seriously, since I have sworn vows with you, the Su family's affairs are my business. How can I sit idly by and do nothing at this critical moment? Don't worry. Leave these two people to me. I will protect the Su family tonight. Su Yanji said Bo Yuntian, and then no longer looked at Su Qianqian, but moved his eyes to Shi Xian, and said in a deep voice, if you want to destroy the Su family, step over my body first. Haha, I don't know how high the sky is. Before Shi Xian could speak, Duan Sihai who was standing next to him said coldly, Master Shi, let me kill him for you. Need not. Shi Xian shook his head and said with a playful smile, he is just a half-step earth sect, he can't do me any harm. Since he has spoken rudely to me, let me deal with him personally, and tell him by the way, what does it mean that there is a world outside the world, and there are people outside the world, Shi Xian said with a cold smile. That's fine. Duan Sihai nodded, then stood aside with a faint smile on his face. From the beginning to the end, he didn't take Su Yang seriously. He showed contempt. Su Xiantian. At this moment, Shi Xian sneered and said, you are young and have only half stepped into the earth section. Your talent is not weak, but compared to me, you are far behind. Come on, take action. Let me see your true ability. I'm afraid if I take action first, you will be wiped out by me in an instant, haha, Shi Xian said disdainfully. Is it? Su Yang showed a faint smile, raised his eyebrows and said, are you sure you want me to take action first? Of course Shi Xian stood with his hands behind his back and said confidently. Oh well. Su Yang smiled, with a playful smile always hanging on the corner of his mouth. But the next moment, his body disappeared on the spot. Whoosh! Along with a sound that broke through the air, Su Yang's body suddenly appeared in front of Shi Xian. Shi Xian was suddenly taken aback, with a rare look of fear on his face, and wanted to resist. However, it is a pity that he has no chance. Puff! Su Yang used his hand as a knife and his spiritual energy as a blade, and in just an instant, he cut Shi Xian's neck. Bright red blood spurted out, dyeing Su Yang's cheeks red. You, Shi Xian covered his neck, and before he could finish a word, his body suddenly fell to the ground, dying. Immediately afterwards, Su Yang calmly wiped away the blood on his face and smiled softly. Sorry, you asked me to take action first. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 228. Shi Xian, the young prodigy who came from the land of Fengchan, died in Su Yang's hands just like this. He was only in the late stage of the Earth sect, and Su Yang had killed him before in this realm. The second elder of Wu Ying sect, who was in the later stage of Earth sect, was also wiped out by Su Yang. With Su Yang's current strength, he can completely compete with the peak of the Earth sect, or even defeat him. Wow! At this moment, Shi Xian died, and this scene shocked everyone present. Xian, Uncle Xiantian actually killed the late Earth sect member so easily. My good brother is amazing, and he is so righteous that he is actually willing to live and die with the Su family. I really did not misjudge him. Su Shenbing and Su Qianqian were both extremely shocked and did not expect Su Yang to win. Master Shi Duansihai, who was not far away, saw Shi Xian collapsed, and his expression suddenly became tense. He hurried forward to check, and found that Shi Xian's throat had been slashed, he had died, and there was no way to save him. Subsequently, Duansihai stood up and stared at Su Yang, his face as dark as water, and he said angrily, Su Xiantian, you are so brave, do you know who he is? How dare you kill him? Su Yang met Duansihai's gaze and said calmly, why not? Snort. Duansihai gritted his teeth and said, Master Shixuan Shi comes from Mount Tai, the place where Zen is granted, and is the grandson of the owner of Mount Tai. Master Taishan, he is one of the strongest men in the world today. Who do you think you are? You dare to kill the grandson of the Lord of Mount Tai. You are looking for death. Duansihai's eyes were bloodshot, and he gritted his teeth at Su Yang, wanting to tear him into pieces. Previously, he was careless, thinking that Su Yang was just a weakling who was only half a step into the Earth sect realm, vulnerable, and thought that Mr. Shi could easily win. Therefore, Duansihai was completely unprepared. In addition, Su Yang's technique was so fast that it was extremely fast. Duansihai didn't have time to help, and by the time he reacted, Shi Xian was already dead. Shi Xian, the grandson of the Lord of Mount Tai. Accompanied by Duansihai, he died in Jiangbei. Duansihai knew full well that he was to blame, and his face was naturally extremely ugly. So what? But Su Yang didn't take it seriously and said calmly, who is the master of Mount Tai? If you offend me, everyone will die. You. What an arrogant boy, I will kill you now and make you die as an apology. Duansihai was so angry that he immediately mobilized his true energy and quickly struck out a palm, directly hitting Su Yang's chest. Su Yang had sharp eyes and quick hands, surrounded by spiritual energy, and hurriedly took action to resist. Boom! The next moment, the two people came into contact, and the terrifying aftermath of the battle rippled around. Puff! Then, without holding on for a second, Su Yang was blasted away by Duansihai. The sky was stained with blood. His body hit the ground heavily and spit out a pool of blood. Duan Sihai, on the other hand, stood still and didn't move at all. He seemed to still have some strength left. It was obvious that he had not used his full strength just now. With one move, he defeated Su Yang, who was at the 7th level of Qi training. The strong men of Tianzong are so terrifying. Boy, you don't know how high the sky is, you committed a heinous crime, and you deserve to die. Not only are you going to die, but everyone in the Su family is going to die today. This sect wants you to be buried with Mr. Shi. Duan Sihai looked like he was crazy, with a gloomy face, and strode towards Su Yang, with true energy surging in his palms. Not good. This person is so strong. With my current strength, I am no match for him. Su Yang stood up in a hurry, wiped the blood stains from the corner of his mouth, his face was extremely solemn, and murmured, "Now that the situation has come to a point, I have no choice but to perform a blood sacrifice." Blood sacrifice. Su Yang currently has the strongest trump card. The last time the blood sacrifice was launched, it was used to deal with Ji Yiping, who was half a step into the Earth sect realm. That time, after Su Yang killed Ji Yiping and learned that his sister was in trouble, he took a helicopter and flew directly to eastern Xinjiang to eliminate the 80,000 enemy troops of Country D. Fortunately, he got a blood-devouring bead from Chen Shangyun, the military advisor of Country D, to replenish his energy and blood. It only took a few days for him to return to his peak condition. However, things like blood-devouring beads are not always available to help. Su Yang is afraid of the weak state after the blood sacrifice. Therefore, he would never use the secret technique of blood sacrifice unless absolutely necessary. But now, facing Duan Sihai, a super powerful master, Su Yang had no choice but to start the blood sacrifice. With this thought in his mind, Su Yang hurriedly kneaded the secrets with his hands, his face serious, his eyes gradually turned red, and the aura around him became violent. Buzz. The next moment, a strong wind rose from the ground and blew Su Yang's clothes, making a hunting sound. At this time, Su Yang's eyes were scarlet red, his aura had more than doubled, and his aura was extremely manic. The secret technique of blood sacrifice was successfully activated. Su Yang's realm has risen to the 8th level of Qi training in a short period of time, and his strength has increased dramatically. What method are you using? Duan Sihai's eyes narrowed and he frowned at Su Yang. Su Yang had a gloomy face and said sternly, "There's no need to tell you, don't you want to kill me? Come on. Humph, you're just a little skilled. Do you think you can compete with me by using random methods and improving your strength?" Duan Sihai said coldly, "Innocent, suffer death." After the words fell, Duan Sihai took the initiative and struck Su Yang quickly with the palm. Su Yang used Zheji Tianya to avoid the palm at first, and then appeared at 7 o'clock. His fist wrapped in spiritual energy suddenly hit Duan Sihai. Duan Sihai raised his eyebrows and knocked Su Yang away with a wave of his hand. However, Su Yang's body disappeared again while flying upside down. When he appeared, he was already behind Duan Sihai and quickly threw out the 2 water dragons that had been condensed in advance. These 2 water dragons, with their tricky angles and amazing power, hit Duan Sihai directly. If he were at the peak of Earth sect, he would not be able to withstand the attacks of these 2 water dragons. But Duan Sihai is a strong man of Tianzong after all, and he can move his true energy to protect his body almost instantly. Boom! Boom! The next moment, the 2 water dragons collided with Duan Sihai's Qi protective shield, and a muffled sound was heard from the scene. Haha, the method is good, yes, but the strength is not enough. Duan Sihai sneered, and then with a sudden force, he shattered the 2 water dragons. At the same time, he jumped out and pressed his palms against Su Yang's chest with lightning speed. Su Yang was unable to resist at all, and his body was blown away again. Puff! Su Yang, the sky was stained with blood. After landing, he coughed up blood and his face was extremely pale. Tianzong is too strong. Even though he used the secret technique of blood sacrifice, he was still no match for Duan Sihai, and he even had no power to fight back. Su Xiantian, stop struggling pointlessly and accept death. Duan Sihai strode up to Su Yang, with a fierce look in his eyes, and the true energy in his palms continued to gather. Death threat. At this moment, Su Yang truly felt the threat of death, and his pupils quickly contracted. He lay on the ground, feeling so helpless for the first time since his rebirth. Could it be that he was going to die like this? Su Yang moved his eyes and slowly looked around at everyone around him. Su Qincan, Su Shenbing, Li Feiquan, Xiao Ting, many secret guards of the Su family. Finally, Su Yang's eyes fell on Su Yuyu, his eyes turning slightly red. Daughter. This is my daughter. Unfortunately, I can't see my daughter grow up. Su Yang looked at Su Yuyu with loving eyes and a smile on his lips. Dad. Your dad. Su Yuyu seemed to recognize Su Yang, and her young face suddenly showed a look of concern. Immediately afterwards, she hurried to Su Yang, opened her arms, protected Su Yang behind her, and said fiercely, "Bad guy, I don't allow you to hurt my father." "Dad, don't be afraid. Yuyu is a peerless master. Yuyu will protect you then," Su Yuyu said seriously to Su Yang. Cough. Su Yang coughed up a mouthful of blood and was about to let Su Yuyu leave, but at this moment, Duan Sihai said with vicious eyes, "Ha ha, little thing, you two should die together." As soon as he finished speaking, Duan Sihai's palm quickly clapped out with astonishing power. "Don't want." Su Yang yelled desperately, his eyes were red, but he couldn't react at all. Boom. But just when Duan Sihai's palm struck Su Yuyu, a terrifying power suddenly emerged from Su Yuyu's body, and she actually blocked Duan Sihai's attack and even bounced Duan Sihai away. What? Duan Sihai took 4 or 5 steps back. After stabilizing his body, he turned pale with fright and looked at Su Yuyu fearfully. At this moment, Su Yuyu's whole body was radiating bright light, her hair was like a waterfall, and her eyes changed color at some point. It was originally black, but now it was red, like onyx. The strangest thing was that her aura increased rapidly and reached a terrifying level. At this time, Su Yuyu's temperament also changed drastically. Before, she was a cute little loli, soft and waxy. But now, her breath was cold, her face was as sinking as water, she stared at Duan Sihai, and said coldly, "Injury my father, I will kill you." You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 229. Injure my father. I am going to kill you. Su Yuyu's face was as dark as water, and she spat out a few words in a cold tone. The childish innocence was completely gone, replaced by coldness and terror. At this time, Su Yuyu had the body of a child, but every move she made was like a decisive and killing demon. The breath she released was so oppressive that everyone present could not breathe at all. Su Qincan, Su Shenbing, Li Feiquan, and all the secret guards of the Su family had already fainted under this aura. Su Yang and Duan Sihai were the only ones at the scene, and they were still conscious. Long. Su Yang, who was dying, saw strong shock in his eyes when his daughter suddenly became like this. What happened? Why is there such terrifying power hidden in Yuyu's body? This power is not only powerful, but also hidden very deep. It should be sealed in Yuyu's body. Su Yang could clearly detect that this power did not belong to Yuyu. Yuyu is just a 4-year-old girl. No matter how amazing her talent is, it is impossible for her to develop such a powerful power. If you guessed correctly, it should be a certain powerful person who passed his skills to Su Yuyu and sealed them in Yuyu's body using a unique method. Unless it's a life or death situation, this power cannot be used. Just now. Su Yuyu stood up to defend Su Yang, and Duan Sihai's palm broke Yuyu's seal. Therefore, Su Yuyu suddenly received the irrigation of huge power, as if she had become a different person. Duan Sihai, who was not far away, looked at Su Yuyu carefully. His face was suddenly filled with astonishment and he murmured, "Tianzong. You, a little girl of 4 or 5 years old, are actually as strong as me. Are you a master of Tianzong?" Duan Sihai was extremely shocked. After confirming that he had read correctly, he guessed, "If I guessed correctly, you should have been taught the power by a strong person from the Tianzong. After transferring the skills, you can burst out the power of Tianzong. The person who transfers the skills to you will be at least the peak of Tianzong." Duan Sihai's face was solemn and he said in a deep voice, "Little girl, tell me honestly, who are you and where do you come from?" "Injury to my father, I want to kill you, kill you." Su Yuyu did not respond to Duan Sihai, but her figure suddenly jumped out and attacked Duan Sihai directly. Snort. "If you don't want to answer, forget it." Duan Sihai's eyes turned cold and he said coldly, "Although you are also a Tianzong, you are still just a little girl. So what if you are at the same level as me? To kill you, this sect leader will have to use some means at most. Moreover, everyone in this manner will die tonight. They will be eradicated without leaving any evidence. Even if you have a monstrous background and even if you come from a powerful ancient martial arts sect, this sect leader will not be afraid of retaliation." After the words fell, Duan Sihai showed a sneer and mobilized his whole body's energy to meet Su Yuyu. Boom! 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 The next moment, the two started a fierce confrontation. The real energy was rampant and the scene was very grand. Tianzong. The strength of ancient warriors at this level is really terrifying and extraordinary, completely transcending the Earth sect. The gap between the peak of the Earth sect and the Heavenly sect is even greater than the gap between the Grand Master and the Earth section. There is no comparison at all. Therefore, even if Su Yang performs blood sacrifice and forcibly reaches the 8th level of Qi training in a short period of time, he still cannot compete with this realm. According to Su Yang's inference, only by advancing to the 9th level of Qi training and encountering ancient warriors in the Tianzong realm can he be able to fight. Boom! The battle between Su Yuyu and Duan Sihai continued, and the aftermath of the battle caused by the collision of infuriating energy swept around. Although Su Yuyu was only 4 years old, the skill in her body was at least 100 years old, so she was not at a disadvantage in a short period of time. But it can be clearly seen that Duan Sihai has rich combat experience and is consuming Su Yuyu's energy bit by bit. If nothing happens, the true energy in Su Yuyu's body will be exhausted within 10 or 20 minutes at most. By then, Duan Sihai can easily defeat Su Yuyu. This is not the way to go. Yuyu will lose sooner or later. Su Yang, who was breathing weakly, could tell at a glance that Su Yuyu couldn't hold on for long. Worry was written on his face, and he was racking his brains to think of a solution. Suddenly, an idea flashed in Su Yang's mind, and he had an idea instantly. He murmured, "Today, the key to the East Palace I got from the great elder Su Shanju may be of use. This object is a star meteorite, which contains huge power. Su Shanju is not a cultivator. Controlling it can threaten my life. And I have spiritual energy in my body. If I input all the spiritual energy into the key of the East Palace, the power released by this object will definitely be even more terrifying." With this thought in mind, Su Yang ignored his injuries, sat cross-legged, and forcibly performed the 9 nether prison suppressing technique. The key to the East Palace, this thing is the most powerful magic weapon for cultivators. Su Shanju could control it before, and he should have recognized its owner with a drop of blood. If Su Yang wants to truly use this object, he must erase Su Shanju's mark, and then put his blood essence and soul mark into the key of the East Mansion. At that time, Su Yang can use the key to the East Mansion as he likes, and may have a chance to obliterate Duan Sihai with one blow. But this took time, and Su Yang didn't stop for a moment, racing against time to remove the aura mark left by Su Shanju on the key to the East Mansion. There will be enough time, there will be enough time, yo-yo, wait for me. At the same time, Nine Gates Black Market. Previously, after Su Yang left the Jimin Black Market, Lu Hui and Wang Sai notified the alliance leader Qian Shangxiu. Because they knew that Su Yang was going to deal with the great elder of the Wuying sect, and the other party was at the top of the Earth sect. Lu Hui and Wang Sai were absolutely loyal to Su Yang, but they were worried that their master was no match for the elder of Wuying sect, so they contacted Qian Shangxiu and wanted Qian Shangxiu to help their master. Leader, this is probably what happened. Young Master Su has been away for a while. The great elder of Wuying sect is too strong. His subordinates are worried that young Master Su will take it lightly and fall into the trap of the great elder at this time, Lu Hui said. Don't worry. Since Su Xiantian dares to meet the great elder, it means that he is sure of victory. With his character, he will never do anything that he is not sure of. Qian Shangxiu was dressed in white and wearing a butterfly mask, with a faint smile on her lips. She already knew that Su Xiantian was the handsome young man, Su Yang, who took away her first time. In her eyes, Su Yang has been hiding his strength for so many years, even if he was despised and scolded, he has not exposed it. This kind of character is really rare. Moreover, a person who can tolerate it for so many years must be careful and careful every step of the way. If he is not sure of defeating the great elder, Su Yang will never go there rashly, so Qian Shangxiu is not worried at all. That's what the leader said. Upon hearing this, Lu Hui had no choice but to clasp his fists and not mention the matter again. Well, you should guard the Jimin Black Market. I have been in Jiangbei for several days, and I have already done what I need to do. I will leave with you tomorrow, huh? As Qian Shangxiu was speaking, he suddenly sensed something abnormal, and the beautiful face under the mask instantly sank. Yu seal has been lifted. What happened in the Su family manor? Yu, please don't let anything happen to you. An icy aura emerged from Qian Shansnow's body, and his figure disappeared in an instant. Frost formed on the ground wherever his feet stepped on it. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 230. 10 minutes later. Su family manor. Su Yang sat cross-legged, with a layer of sweat on his forehead. He devoted himself wholeheartedly and was about to control the key to the East Palace. Far away, Su Yuyu was fighting Duan Sihai, and her small body burst out with terrifying power, forcing Duan Sihai to retreat continuously. It seems that I underestimated this girl. Her skills are beyond my imagination. Duan Sihai was frightened while fighting, his face was clouded, and he thought to himself, in this case, we must get rid of her, otherwise there will be endless troubles. Although her skills are unpredictable, she doesn't know how to use her skills. After all, she is no match for me. Duan Sihai was extremely confident, with strong murderous intent in his eyes. Now, the strategy he adopts is to preserve his strength and retreat to advance, so he keeps avoiding Su Yuyu's attacks. Duan Sihai has noticed that most of the true energy in Su Yuyu's body has been consumed, leaving only a small part. As long as he holds on for a few more minutes, when Su Yuyu's true energy is exhausted, won't he do whatever he wants? With this thought in his mind, Duan Sihai continued to evade and did not confront Su Yuyu head-on. The person who hurt my father must die. Su Yuyu's face was as dark as water, she had been carried away, and she attacked desperately, chasing Duan Sihai. Just like this, after a few more minutes, Su Yuyu was panting from exhaustion, and the breath around her body also weakened. At this moment, after more than 10 minutes of consumption, there was not much left in her body. He. At this time, Duan Shi smiled coldly and said, "Little girl, you have beaten enough, Now it is my turn to take action. As soon as he finished speaking, Duan Sihai narrowed his eyes and slapped Suyuyu with his palm. Seeing this, Suyuyu wanted to mobilize her true energy to fight, but found that she didn't have much true energy to mobilize, and her little face showed a hint of anxiety. Boom! The next moment, Duan Sihai's attack came, and Suyuyu had to raise her hands to defend. But due to lack of true energy, her body was shot away and a mouthful of blood spurted out. Duan Sihai did not let Suyuyu go, but chose to pursue the victory. He strode forward and slapped Suyuyu 3 times on the body. Boom! 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 After receiving these 3 palms, Suyuyu's body couldn't bear it at all. She lay on the ground with a pale face and a very weak breath. Little thing, you can acquire the 100-year-old skill of the top master of Tianzong. You must have an unfathomable background. If I guess correctly, you should come from the land of Zen, between the mountains and the sea, deep in the clouds and mists. This huge and ancient force. Duan Sihai stepped forward, grabbed the dying Suyuyu with one hand, raised it above his head, and said with a sullen face, I am very taboo about this kind of power, and I don't dare to offend him at all. So, I will never let you go. You must die tonight. Everyone here will die. No one knows that I killed you. Duan Sihai looked up at Suyuyu in his hand, with a ferocious face and a cold smile on his lips. Immediately, he suddenly used force and threw Suyuyu into the air. Then he prepared a punch, and his true energy spread all over his fist, and he punched it out quickly. Boom! This punch hit Suyuyu firmly in the abdomen, sending her flying and causing blood to spill into the sky. Now, it's finally successful. At the same time, Su Yang successfully controlled the key to the East Mansion and immediately recovered his mind, only to see that Suyuyu had been defeated and was knocked away by Duan Sihai with a punch. Long. Su Yang's eyes were scarlet and he roared with rage. He immediately jumped into the air and caught Suyuyu, who was flying upside down. A few seconds later, Su Yang hugged Suyuyu and landed firmly on the ground. The moment her true energy was exhausted, Suyuyu returned to her normal appearance. Her eyes were no longer red, her hair no longer stood up like a waterfall, and the terrifying aura and power all disappeared without a trace. Suyuyu is now an innocent and immature little girl, but her face that should have been pink and polished is now extremely pale. Long. Boom. Goo, goo. Su Yang showed a gentle smile, put Suyuyu on the ground gently, and stood up. His eyes fell on Duan Sihai, with murderous intent in his eyes, and he growled, You broke into Su's house without permission and injured Su. Everyone in the family has hurt you again, I want you to die a good death. He. Afterwards, Su Yang began to input his spiritual energy into the key of Dongfu. Hateful. At this moment, Suyuyu was lying in Su Yang's arms, vomiting blood from her mouth, and her breath was extremely weak, but she blamed herself, Dad, I'm sorry, you didn't defeat the bad guy, goo. In an instant, the key to the East Mansion exploded with terrifying power. All the furnishings around the manor exploded, and the key to the East Mansion also attacked Duan Sihai with lightning speed. Suyuyu saw Su Yang crying, so she raised her white and tender hands, wiped away Su Yang's tears, and then said with a forced smile, Dad is already very powerful. Mom told Yu that Dad is a super dude with no knowledge and skills. Now only then did Yu realize that her father was so powerful. Although he said this, Duan Sihai was really scared. He immediately gathered a ball of energy and attacked Su Yang, preparing to interrupt Su Yang's movements. Long. Believe Dad. As he spoke, Duan Sihai's voice suddenly stopped, his face suddenly turned ugly, and his eyes fell on the key to the East Mansion. With that said, Su Yang took out the key to the East Mansion from the storage ring and threw the key to the East Mansion into the air. Now, he persisted solely with a trace of obsession, and finally, the spiritual energy input was almost complete. Dad, run away, you can't beat him. Su Yu advised Su Yang with a nervous look on her face. Master of the Wuying sect, suffer death, Su Yang gritted his teeth and suddenly pushed out with his hands. Su Yang hugged Su Yu tightly, tears burst out instantly, and she cried, "It's Dad who didn't protect you. I'm sorry. It's all Dad's fault." Su Yang roared in a low voice, then took a deep breath and said seriously, "Stop talking now, just watch from here. Dad will defeat the bad guys right now." Because he vaguely noticed that this thing made him very uneasy. Boom. Su Yang took them all, but his body couldn't bear them at all, and one blow could seriously injure him. Boom. Puff. Boom. Su Yang did not dodge, but resisted the energy, and then continued to pour spiritual energy into the key to the East Mansion. "No, it's not my fault, Dad." Duan Sihai became even more panicked, and he shot continuously, and countless rays of true energy were shot at Su Yang. Buzz. "Humph, what are you doing again? You really think you can defeat me like this? How ridiculous." When Duan Sihai saw this, he didn't take it seriously. There was a hint of contempt in his eyes, and he sneered, "You are just a defeated general, and you still dare to speak arrogantly. You are a tough talker. It's time to kill you." Boom. I knew that Yo-Yo's dad was definitely not who Mom said he was. Yo-Yo's dad was a strong man. Su Yu was getting weaker and weaker, and she was obviously in great pain, but she always kept a smile in front of Su Yang, not wanting her father to see her in pain, or to make him sad.